Quote, put me in a 1-hour class and we're chilling. Put me in a 3-hour class, yikes, end quote. Shakespeare. This summer, I have a 3-hour class on Monday and Wednesday and a 4.5-hour class on Tuesday and Thursday. And I find it really difficult to stay fully concentrated in the lecture material for the entire class period without getting distracted. And so I've done a little bit of research and I've compiled 10 evidence-based strategies for staying both awake and fully focused in class, especially really long classes. So let's get to it. First, stay hydrated. A study by the University of East London found that drinking just 300 milliliters of water, which is about 10 ounces of water, can boost our attention by up to 25%. I also found an interesting study from the BBC that reported that psychology students who went into their exams with a water bottle scored about 5% higher than those who didn't. So, grab a water bottle and pack it for both class lectures and exams. It'll probably help you to stay focused. Second, be well rested. I remember in my French class one time, I was feeling really irritated and frustrated with the concepts that we were talking about. I was getting really distracted and it just wasn't clicking with the information. And I realized that it just so happened to be that the night before, I'd gotten a terrible night's sleep. And then I realized, actually, every single time that I felt like this, just like intense irritation in the middle of class, like I can't think straight, it just so happened to be the day after a terrible night's sleep. So make of that what you will, but it's definitely a good idea to get some sleep if you want to stay both awake and alert during class. Third, eat a small meal before going into class. Going into class on an empty stomach causes us to feel irritable, hangry, and tired. So get a little bit of food before going into class. However, we don't want to eat a ton of food before going into class because that'll make us tired as well, like we all see when people eat tons of food on Thanksgiving. So ideally, eat a reasonable sized meal before class and then take a small snack to eat during class, and I found that most professors are fairly accommodating. Number 4, this is my personal favorite, ask questions. Now it turns out that active learning is not only better for improving our learning outcomes, but it's also better for staying focused and awake during class. So if you can muster up the courage to raise your hand a few times and ask a couple of questions, you'll be more actively engaged in the content and your brain will be firing faster, so we're less likely to get distracted and unfocused. Number 5, remind yourself why you're interested in the topic. Now I've done a little bit of research on boredom, and it turns out that our brains will turn off when the information that we're trying to learn and focus on doesn't seem to be relevant or useful to us. And that's not because we're lazy, it's because it would be a waste of our brain's resources to be intensely focusing on something that's not relevant to us. So when I'm starting to lose focus in physics class, I'll take a step back and I'll think to myself, I actually really enjoy what we're learning about. It's practical in the real world and it's fascinating to me. So this is really cool. And just taking that step to remind myself why I like it or why it's going to be useful to me in the future, why I'm going to need this in my career, makes it so that the topic isn't as boring and it's going to be more useful. And so by whatever means necessary, whatever we can say to ourselves to convince our brain that what we're learning is actually useful and practical to us will go miles in helping us to stay focused. Because of this, it's common advice to set the classes that we have that are night classes or very late classes to be classes in subjects that we're really interested in, so that we're able to stay motivated during class time. Number 6, active note-taking. Yet again, active is better than passive for keeping ourselves focused and awake during long classes. Even if we fully understand the topic, it's still good to take notes because it keeps ourselves alert during class. And on this note, handwritten notes are better than typed notes because we have to process the information and consider what is the most important things that we have to write down. So we're actively learning, meaning that we're more focused. Number 7, this one's pretty obvious. If we're trying to stay focused, we should eliminate distractions around us. So we can do this by turning our phone and computer onto Do Not Disturb mode, and ideally taking handwritten notes instead of typed notes, because it's easier to get distracted and pull up like Discord on our computers than if we were handwriting our notes. Another nugget that I ran across in my research is sitting at the front of the class. This helps cut distractions down in 2 ways. First, it makes sure that all the people who could be distracting you are sitting behind you. And second, there's accountability to not fall asleep because the teacher would catch you if you started dozing off. Number 8, take a mental headspace break when your instructor goes off on a tangent to answer one of your fellow students' questions. So in my experience, it only takes like 20 or 30 seconds to refocus my energy and get back on track with the topic. So I'll take a short break and I'll close my eyes and I'll breathe deeply and I'll try to tune out the work that we're trying to focus on. And then after a couple seconds of doing that, I can come back and be fully focused. Now normally there's not a good opportunity to do this during class, but a great option is to do this when the teacher is answering a question that is on a topic that you fully understand, or if one of your classmates sticks up his hand and asks about how this concept that you're learning relates to some random unrelated thing that he learned about when he was 5. With something like that, it's a pretty good time for you to take a pause, take a short breather, and then refocus your energy and get back into it. Number 9, ask for a break. A 5 or 10 minute break in the middle of class is the perfect length for you to get up, walk around, get a little bit of exercise, get a snack, go to the bathroom, get some water, and be fully recharged to go back into the session. Now, a lot of professors will already plan to take a break during the middle of class, but if they don't, what I do is go into office hours and then bring in the evidence to suggest that you probably should take a break in the middle of class. Explain to the professor that taking a short break will allow everyone to recharge and get fully back to speed so that we're making the most of our time during the lecture. And in my experience, a lot of the time the professor will say yes. The trick is to ask the professor about this at the beginning of the semester so that after a couple of classes in, it becomes a routine and a habit that you take a break. Whereas if you start in the middle of the semester, it's more likely that the professor will forget and then you stop having breaks. I would also add that it's helpful to have a break at a specific time during class. That way, when it's about 20 minutes before the break, I'm able to tell myself, I know I'm having a rough time, but only 20 minutes left, let's concentrate hard, and then we'll be able to take a break. Whereas if the break is at a random time every single class period, I can't tell myself this. And number 10, bring to class whatever you know helps you to stay focused and awake. I know a lot of people who like to eat mints or chew on gum or bring fidget toys or bring eye drops. Eye drops, of course, are helpful if you have tired and aching eyes during class, which would significantly lower your focus. All right, I hope that you try out some of these techniques, and let's be confident here, when these techniques are helpful in keeping you focused and awake during your long classes, consider sharing this video with a friend of yours in one of those really long classes who you think it might help. Until next time, have a great day. Cheers.